Okay, expanding. Again, horribly done because mostly I think because people just didn't think about how to do this well. And what you've got to think about is whatever technique you want to use to make sure that you're expanding everything. So if we're going to use the claw, which is a pretty good way of remembering what you're going to do, you've just got to make sure that you're doing all the expansion here. So minus 3y times 10y. Well, minus 3 times 10 is negative 30. Y times y is y squared. So that's my first term done. Then I'm going to multiply my second terms. Minus 3 times minus 4, so you've got to remember that the minus signs belong to the numbers, is plus 12. Y times z, I can't do anything with that, it's just yz. So that is the answer there. Now, I could show you, in fact I will show you, the other way of setting this one out. So this is the way that I mentioned that I learned when I was at school. It's the same as saying minus 3y times 10y, whoops, 10y, minus 3y again times minus 4z. So all I'm doing here is really adding an extra step into the middle of this expansion. So I've got the term outside the bracket multiplied by the first term, and then the term outside the bracket again multiplied by the second term. And if you prefer doing it this way, you're going to get exactly the same answer, and it really doesn't matter at all which one you like. They are the same thing mathematically. As long as you use the claw or some other technique to make sure that you're multiplying everything in the bracket by everything outside the bracket, you're going to get it right. What people tended to do wrong in this question is that they would do something like equals minus 30y squared. So the first part was right, but then they would forget to actually multiply the second term, and so that was a big, seriously, why is my pen not going to work? That was a big kind of no for that one. My pen's not working, so there we go, that did the trick. Alright, so factorizing, getting towards the end now. Factorizing is, as we know, the opposite of expanding. Now, if you don't know what factorize means, then write it down, and put it in your bound reference, preferably with an example. So what we're looking for is factors. We're looking for things that are that are common factors to all the terms. Now, when I say a term, this is a term, a number with pronumerals separated from other numbers and pronumerals by an operator. So this is a term and this is a term here. So what have they got in common? Now, if you think about it, 40 and 10, well, they're both multiples of 10. So the biggest number that is a common factor of both of them is 10. I don't know why this is being so pesky. Alright, so, sorry, that's come up a little bit weird. I will get rid of that. Equals 10. So that's our first number. Now, that's going to be outside the bracket. Now, what else is a common factor of the two of them? You can see that they both have h as a factor. So I can divide them both by 10h. So then what we've got to think about is how many 10h's are in 40h. Well, there are 4 10s in 40, so the first term inside the bracket is going to be 4. Then if we think about the next term, well, if we divide this by 10h, well, the 10 will cancel, the h will cancel, and all we're left with is t. So that is factorized. Now, whenever you're factorizing, you should be able to expand it back out to check your answer. So this is the factorized form. So this is the final answer for the question. Don't do anything else with that. But if I wanted to check it, which you know, we should be able to do, all you're doing is using your claw or something like that to expand back out. So 10 times h is 40h, which is what we had at the top. 10h times t is 10h. T, that's it. You can see that it works. So whenever you factorize, you should also be able to expand back. And if it doesn't expand back properly, then you've done something funny. Okay, the last one, I think, is a slightly trickier one because you've got to do two brackets, and then you've got to simplify by combining like terms, and there may also be some directed numbers in here as well. So this is where you've got to bring your skills together a bit. You've got to be careful with each skill, and you've got to be careful with each step. Now hopefully you've noticed that as I'm doing this, I'm setting it out a certain way, and this is the way that I want you to set them out. So you're working vertically down the page, and you're keeping everything below sort of where it started. So all those things, that the terms in this first bracket, as I calculate this and expand it, they will be below here, and then as I simplify, we'll work our way down until we get to the answer. Now, we're going to do things, we need to think about the brackets first. So BODMAS again. The first thing we're doing is expanding the brackets. So for each bracket, I've just got to make sure that what's in the bracket is multiplied by what is outside the bracket. Now this is a simple example because we've just got a number outside the bracket, but the same rules that I've been describing previously just apply to these sorts of questions anyway. So even if I had something like 4a outside the bracket, you just need to make sure we multiplied it as I've done in the previous example. Okay, so 4 times 2m is 8m. Now 4 times plus 1 is just plus 4. So that's my first bracket done. Then I'm going to think about my second bracket. Because the brackets are all equivalent in terms of BODMAS, I can do this one and this one in the same line of my equation, if you like, but I can't then do, I wouldn't do anything else until I've figured these out. Or in fact, I can't do anything else until I've figured these out, because there's no other like terms or anything like that. Okay, so then over here, 2m times 6m is plus 12m. So remember again, I'm keeping the sign in front of the numbers. So this is a plus, 6m has no sign in front of it, which means it's also a plus. And then plus 2 times minus 3, this is my only tricky one so far because I've got negative 6. Okay, so then I'm just thinking like terms. 8m and 12m are like terms. This gives me a total of 20m. Plus 4 minus 6, I'm starting off with a positive number, I'm going negative, and because I'm going negative 6, I'm actually going to go past 0 to negative 2. So the moral of the story, if you like, is just be careful with your steps. If you do each individual step correctly, you will get the right answer at the end. But it's when you make the simple mistakes with things like BODMAS or directed numbers or expanding or whatever that you've immediately basically, you know, got the wrong answer and are going to lose a lot of your marks. If you have any questions about these, feel free to email me before the test, and I'll be marking the test as well to give you feedback on that.